Welcome to the Master Your Millions podcast, the show all about your financial potential and leaving a legacy for future generations. Here are your hosts, Jason and Scott Henderson.
Thank you, Scott. Yes, I'm really excited to introduce Jen du Plessis today. Well, in fact, I need to be a little bit correct. It's Lady Jen du Plessis, and I'm sure she'll tell us a little bit about that later. Yet she's affectionately known as the impact and transformational mentor and is referred to as the leading expert in creating world-class teams. She has been in the financial services industry for 4 decades, and during her 35-year career was listed in the top 200 of mortgage originators nationally and funded over $1 billion in mortgage loans. Jen works with high-achieving sales professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are stuck at 6 figures and want to reach 7 figures per year. With numerous #1 Amazon best-selling books, host of 2 top-ranking podcasts, and the producer and host of her TV show, Tell Me I Can't, reaching over 350 homes monthly. She is highly sought after charismatic speaker, having shared stages with such icons as Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Darren Hardy, Jeff Hoffman, Sharon Lechter, and many more, as well as being featured in numerous articles and covers of national recognized magazines, including LA Weekly and Success Profile magazine. Jen believes it's time to move from working in and on your business to working above and beyond your business. And last thing I want to introduce Jen is she's a friend, and we're so happy to have her as a friend. Welcome to our podcast, Jen.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with both of you today, and I cannot wait to share. Can't wait to share. I love sharing. So question away.
Well, inquiring minds want to know right away this most recent development, why it is that you are now referred to legally and honorably as Lady Jen du Plessis.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You didn't have to bring this up, but I really appreciate it very much. I didn't seek it out. I was nominated by someone from a distance who is part of the Royal Order of the Great Constantine in St. Helen. It's the oldest royal order of knighthood in the world. It was established in 360 AD. And, it's just fantastic to be part of this royal order. It's about hope and faith and humility and charity and chivalry. And so, what I really love about this is that it's, something that I didn't expect. I wasn't achieving, didn't even know it existed until it came to me. And then I was on pins and needles wondering if I could be worthy. And, there's 2 different levels we go through. One is, how we are professionally in a variety of categories. And then what we do from the charity aspect of what we do to give back and make an impact in the world. So, so that just happened. And, and I have my scepter and my crown and all kinds of badges and things that I wear. I never really understood all of it until I got involved. Whenever you've seen the queen or the king, they dress really pretty, and then they got these sashes and these badges and medals and stuff. Well, that's part of what we have to do. And so of course we got our cape, and the prince, did the whole knighting thing. The other thing is, I kind of want what the guys have. They have unbelievably gorgeous swords with their names engraved in them, and we have scepters. But other than that, but we, I wanted the big sword. But so it's just it feels really good. And we do a lot of charitable work for women and homeless women with children around the world, as part of what the Royal Order does, is part of that. But we obviously all have our own charities that we work with, and just continue to do that. So thank you so much for asking. Such an honor. It really is.
Well, I'm sure it's well deserved, and we're proud of you for doing it. And congratulations. That's a long ways from where you were as a youngster. What is it? Tell us some of the highlights in your life and maybe some mentors or something that's helped you turn the turns at the right time. You got into mortgages, you funded over $1 billion in mortgages and helped a lot of families and people that way. Tell us how you kind of got there.
Yeah. I'm going to try to condense my story just somewhat for the interest of being able to talk about what we want to talk about, right? Is that I'm one of 36 first cousins. We're a big Catholic family. And I was the only one who was an only child. And until I was 14, and then my mom and dad had my brother. And so there's a big gap between us. It's pretty interesting. Everyone used to think that my husband and I were the parents of my brother, who my mom used to say, take Sam with you on your dates and stuff, because there's such a gap. And we'd have to explain it, even though he looks identical to me. It's like, this is not my kid. But yeah, so I was an only child, and my dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a verbal abuser. So she was my first bully, right? My first bully. And so I coveted, and I had a shell around myself, this big, shell around myself where I didn't want people to penetrate it, and want anybody to know what was going on behind closed doors. And, because I had a big family, we were the black sheep of the family. And my Uncle Darcy one day said to me, and he was like a second father to me, because he was the one who was around when my dad wasn't drinking. And he said to me, and on top of this, we all had nicknames. He gave us nicknames, right? Dan the Man, Gene the Machine, those types of things. I was called Jenny who ain't got a penny. And of course, as a young child, I didn't quite understand that. But I always carried a penny in my shoe, and I would just pull it out and go, ha, 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 I have a penny. You're funny, but I have one. But didn't quite understand it. But one day when I was about 9, 11, something like that, he said to me, Jenny, you're going to be just like your dad, an alcoholic. You're going to be just like your mom, a verbal abuser. You're going to be poor. You're not going to go to school. You're just going to be just like them, because that's how the world is. Whatever it is now, that's what they, send down. And we all know these stories, right? Of breaking that chain. And, my mom and dad got in a fight one time. My dad had a shotgun to my mom's head. That was the trigger for me that said, I am not going to be like them. Do not tell me what to do. And this is why my show is called Tell Me I Can't. It's not so much don't tell me I can't, but tell me I can't. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me I can't. And so I set out on this path, unbeknownst to myself. It was all subconscious, that I was not going to be like them. So I was going to be perfect in every way. If I'm perfect, he won't drink. If I'm perfect, she won't yell at me, and abuse me verbally because I didn't clean something right, or vacuum the right lines, or whatever it was. And I set out on that, and so obviously school was great. When I went to high school, I was accepted into Colorado State University pre-med. I was going to be a cardiologist. Ended up going into architectural design and construction engineering. Was Miss Colorado Springs, was runner-up Miss Colorado, was a state champion tennis player, played flute and piccolo in the Colorado Springs Symphony when I was in high school, straight A student, cheerleader. I mean, you name it, I was doing it, because I was proving, waiting for someone to say, I'm proud of you. And I transcended that into business, into the mortgage business as well. So I had to be the biggest, the baddest, the best at everything. And so that drive was there, but it wasn't my personality. I thought it was. It just steamrolling people, not intentionally, but I'm so driven and had so much proving to do that it was perceived as being that, as a woman in a man's world, really, in lending. And you think back in 1983 when I got in, it was just all men were originators. Women just did all the back office stuff. And so I just drove and, and succeeded in everything I did, until I had a second trigger in my life about 12, 15 years ago, when I went to dinner with my family, and they were having dinner, but I was outside walking what I call the concrete balance beam, the curb on the phone, taking the calls and never being present. And that's when I said, I'm done proving, and I'm going to start living. I'm strong enough, I'm confident enough now that I don't need anyone to tell me that they're proud of me, because I'm proud of myself. And that's really what changed my entire, career in lending, and, just myself, my own being changed in that moment. And, the end story is, $1 billion in fundings. Uncle Darce is going to be 90 in a couple of next week, the 19th of July, when we're recording this. And he's been in and out of the hospital the last couple of weeks, and we've had some really big scares. So we're just praying and hoping that he makes it to 90. But that's my mentor. He's my mentor because he is a brilliant real estate investor. And I learned a lot of my real estate investing from him. And he finally did say to me a couple of years ago, "I'm so proud of you. You broke the chain. Your family is fantastic. Look what you've done." But I didn't need it anymore, but he's my mentor. If he had not done that, I would be that. I truly believe I would have been that. I know it's a long question.
No, that was awesome and very, very inspiring. And I know everybody that will listen to that story will be inspired and feel like, yeah, that's where I want to go. Our whole idea in this podcast was we want people to share raw who they are, and then also be able to say, yeah, I've been able to accumulate some wealth. However, the really important part is enjoying it, living like you're saying, and also then having the ability to pass it on. With so much real estate investing background, give us a few different areas or different things, types of real estate investments that you personally like to be involved with.
Yeah, I mean, I like to start with where we started. My husband and I bought our first home. We were talking in the green room. We're going to be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary next week. And I still can't believe I'm even 40, right? So when I say it, I'm like, in my mind, I'm not even 40. I have so much to learn, right? I feel like a baby still. And, so we're celebrating our anniversary, but we bought our first home in May and we were married in July. And we were both 19 when we bought it. In fact, Uncle Darcy gave us a gift to buy that $47,000 house at 15% interest rate at the time. And that really got at the bug for us to keep going. And so when we started off, we did step investing. And so for those of you that know what that is, and if you don't, you can learn about it. But we did step investing. It took us a long time, but a home every year, maybe every other year for our entire marriage, right? We bought a house and several in between. And we started doing the step investing and being real estate investors. We used the snowball effect. We didn't need money because we had jobs, right? So we didn't need the passive income or active income that was coming from those properties, the positive cash flow. So all of the positive cash flow went into paying off the first one. And then all of the positive cash flow went into paying off the second one, and all the right. So that's how we started accumulating properties. We didn't sell any, which now I would be saying to myself, sell some of those and duplicate the efforts instead of, that step investing. So later we started doing that. So renters, right? We became renters. Then this thing came out called Airbnb. We're like, instead of having a year-long lease and they don't clean underneath the oven for a whole year, right? Or other things for a whole year, we could have our house cleaned every 3 days and we can make more money from having those properties. So we converted as many as we could, which was allowed by the HOA or the city ordinance or whatever, converted as many as we could into Airbnbs. So we have a plethora of Airbnbs now. We've converted a 9-unit into Airbnb. All 9 units are now Airbnb'd in a college town for the parents to come into town, right? Instead of having all the kids in there for a whole half a year or whatever, we now have parents coming in and, coming in for the various events that are going on. So we did that. And then the properties that we have paid off, a majority of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but we've offered the properties to our renters for a land contract, right? So we hold the seller financing. So we've converted active income, positive cash flow into passive income, so that we have it as note income. And I used to call it mailbox income, but now I call it inbox income, right? Because I get it digitally, my inbox income. That's what we're doing. So I'm holding a lot of notes right now. In fact, I'm doing a lot of buying of performing and non-performing notes, and about ready to walk into tax liens. We had done that years ago, but we are walking back into that again for tax liens. And then the last thing that we do is we do multifamily syndications. We're involved in a couple of those. So I'm trying to move away from having to actively be involved in everything to just have that inbox income now.
So, Jen, I know I've talked to a lot of our listeners, and a lot of them have a question about the way you said it was duplicating those efforts. How do you, if you could go back and talk to yourself, what would be the criteria to say, hey, sell this, buy something else?
Yeah, I think that there were many opportunities that passed us by because we didn't have the capital, right? Because what we were doing, we'd buy a house, and gosh, back then you could pay 10% down as an investor, which is great. And so we didn't have to save as much as you do now for traditional financing, but we were saving our money, and a deal would come by, and we can't take it because we're saving our money for this strategy that we have. So had I seen that, or if I had enough knowledge to know, to sell, split, and buy two more, I could have grown my portfolio a lot bigger. We have about 110 doors right now, between the multifamily, not the syndications, just the properties we own, right? That we have Airbnbs, we hold notes on or whatever. And I would have utilized my equity a lot differently than I would now. I would oh my gosh, what's the word? Leverage. I would leverage more of that. And this is one of the reasons why I love whole life, this whole concept of being your own banker, is because I can tap into that money and still have it growing, instead of tapping into it and having nothing and going, now we have to save again if we want to do anything, or save to have money for ourselves. And what happens if one of those or 30 of them go bad? We didn't have that net. We just didn't. We relied on the fact that we would find renters. When I look back on it, it almost, like, my heart, there's a pain in my chest that says, oh my gosh, that was not the way to do it. But I was chasing my uncles. They own, I think, a little over 4,000 properties, 4,000 doors. And I was like, I just need to have a bunch of them. And I just did it the way I did. But now I would change the tune in the way that I would do to do that, so that I could get even further along. And it's not about the money, right? It's about my children having the money. That's what it's about for me. It is not about the money for me, because if you know me, I don't wear those red bottom shoes that women buy for $800. I think it's silly. They're shoes, right? And they're probably uncomfortable, so I don't even get them, right? So I'm not big on that. I'm about having experiences in my life, and that's why I like to, accumulate the assets that I have, is I want to have those experiences instead.
So I'm really curious, when you have said that, how would you define the difference between rich and wealthy?
Well, what's funny? The first thing that comes to mind is rich is external and wealthy is internal to me. Peace of mind, freedom, relaxation, not stressed out trying to keep up with the Joneses. One of the topics that I speak about when I do my speaking, I have multiple topics, but one of them is not having a quality of life, but having a life of quality. To me, a quality of life is keeping up with the Joneses. My mom said that to me. We were talking one day, and I said, we're going here, we're going there, we're going to Hawaii with the kids, which my son is the one who took us to Hawaii, because we're not financially, but he was playing on a baseball team. And we were like, we're going to Hawaii because our son's going there, right? And I said, we're doing, you have such a great quality of life. And that night I slept on that, and I woke up in the morning and went, wait, I don't want that. That's not what I'm looking to do. What I want is a life of quality. And there's a difference for me. There's a big difference in that. One of the mantras I say all the time is live your legacy while you're building it. Why would we wait? Why would we try to have this quality of life to keep up with the Joneses to one day enjoy it? And to me, that's the difference. Wealth is it's that internal knowing that I'm fiscally responsible. We all know that in order to lose weight, we have to exercise and eat right, but not nobody, a lot of people don't take that action. It's the same in the financial world. A lot of people know that in order to have money, you have to conserve it, not consume it, right? You have to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing to help guide you. And without having that, then we wonder why we're not financially, independent or successful or have that peace of mind. And so for me, I can buy what I want anytime I want, but when I have it, I find that I don't yearn for it and I don't need it. And so I don't spend it. Isn't that crazy? And I think the other thing is that so many people quit on money. They're like, I got mine. I made what I wanted, so I'm done making money. I feel like if I know how to make money, then the more money that I can make, the more I can give back to others and make that impact in the world that I was talking about through charitable contributions. That's what's important to me.
Wow. I'm almost speechless. That's really good. I appreciate that. Earlier, you mentioned how much you appreciate or are intrigued with the whole becoming your own banker concept, which we talk a lot about on our podcast. And you were talking simply at that point a little bit about how equity builds up in a property, and sometimes that's difficult to get that out of the property unless you go through paperwork. Where with the whole life, properly designed whole life policy, it's almost like you're separating the equity from the property, right? And you're putting the equity more with this vehicle that now you own and control, and you can deploy it at a moment's notice. You can pop here, pop there, and there's no huge amounts of paperwork required. You don't need to go to the bank and beg them, loan to me my equity, right?
I'm worthy. I'm worthy.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, to say that. So in that process, when it was first described to you, tell me a little bit about your aha moment when you said, oh man, I need to do this.
Yeah. Well, I heard about it, right? And then I read about it because I know I can't remember the guy's name who wrote the book, right? About it. I can never remember his name, but I read the book and I found that, I went to, first of all, I'm a speed reader, right? I can read 3 books a day if I want to. If I'm left alone, I can read, and I have 85% comprehension. So I love to read, but I don't always like to speed read. In this book, I was like, I'll just read it real quick. And then I found myself going, oh my gosh. And by the way, I read books because I want dog ear and highlight and underline everything and make comments about it. And I end up buying it anyway. So I just buy it. I found myself nearly every page had a line, an asterisk, a highlight, a dog ear. Every single page had that. And I was like, this is a concept, and it's tough to put your head around, especially when you come from the mortgage or financial, world where been at a bank, or I'd never been in banking, but I've worked for the mortgage division of a bank. And it's just hard. It was hard for me to get my hands on. I'm like, how come I haven't heard of this? This is too good to be true, but it can't be because he's writing this and I'm going to find out about it, and I started exploring it more. And then just the way the world does things, that manifests things for you is, I was introduced to it by a speaker at an event, and I went, whoa, it does exist. It really does exist. And my aha was, I would have to say, and I can't think of his name either, that he wrote the book, but it's the latte factor, right? And what the heck is his name? He's actually been on my podcast. But so the latte factor, I read the book and I gave the book to my son when he turned 18, when he graduated from high school. And I gave the female version of it to my daughter when she graduated from high school. And it's Smart Women Finish Rich, and it's just the latte factor for women. And I gave them each a $250 American Express gift card. And I thought, okay, and I put the gift card at the very end of the book. And I thought, once they read the book, they're either going to spend the $250 or they're going to invest the $250. And I would let them make that decision. And they both invested. And by the way, that if somebody ever graduates, this is the gift I give, right? And and they ended up investing, the money, because that latte factor of start investing early, and compound. I knew compound interest, but compound interest is such a, what I loved about this was it was not only just that piece of compound interest, but how to use the money to benefit you, to grow your wealth even more. And so my kids now have these policies, and they didn't have them before either. When I got it, I'm like, you're all coming in and we're having a conversation about how you're going to spend this money, particularly because my son has an Inc. 500 company. He's worth about $250 million. And his money was sitting in a bank account. And he's a smart guy, right? But this is why I think I love this so much, is that we all think we're really smart until we hear about this thing and go, whoa, we're missing a lot. And how much money was left on the table all those years. And so my grandbaby, who was born 12 weeks ago, tomorrow, or in 2 days from now, will be 12 weeks old. He's already in the process of getting a policy, so that, well, of course he's not, but you know what I mean? He's in the process of getting a policy. And I said, the kids, we're going to set up a 529. No, you're not. You don't need to. You just need to do this one thing, right?
Absolutely.
So that was my aha.
Way to go, Mom and Grandma. That's awesome. You've already affected 4 generations, right? Because the grandbaby's child is already blessed by your decision to go that direction. That's really cool. You have a question?
Yeah.
So having mentioned, you were talking about here, my kids are graduating from high school. In the event that you had the opportunity and go back to Lady Jen at 18 and talk to her, would you give yourself the same book? Would you give yourself the same gift card? What kind of advice would you give to that 18-year-old?
I don't think I would give them the latte factor, because now I know about, whole life. And so for me, that's the strategy that I would be using. But beyond that, my strategy would be keep money in flow. The adage of save for a rainy day. If you do the right investments, there is no rainy day, because money will come in no matter what, right? Or patience is a virtue. It's not with money. Or, a penny saved is a penny earned. Is not. None of that is. I think keep money in flow. Don't park it at the bank. Park it with yourself, and then find ways to manifest more of it. That I think is the biggest thing that I've learned is, and even when I'm talking to people about this strategy, because I talk about it a lot, even though I'm not an agent for it, right? I'm like just sending them to you guys. When I talk about this strategy, I'm saying, they're saying, well, but there's a premium. And I go, no, it's not a premium. You're already going to put your money in the bank. Just put your money in this bank for yourself. And so it's not a premium. This is where I'm saving my money. And, I think that's probably the biggest challenge that people have, is that, it's a premium. No, it's not. There's so much of that premium is going into your actual account, and it's yours to do whatever you want. So I would have said to myself, keep my money in flow. Don't buy one house and then the next, and then put all the money into paying off the first house. I would have leveraged more. I mean, granted, I've got a lot of net worth, but I would have leveraged more of that to create even more, to have more of an impact in the world.
Great. Thank you for that. So one question we also ask all our guests is, and it's an invitation. It's an invitation to put something out to the universe, where you're going to be or what you want to accomplish in the next 5 years. And it's also an invitation to come back to the podcast as a celebration of accomplishing what you're going to tell us you want to do. And so right now we're both inviting you to come back to the podcast. We want to have a celebration with you. What is it that we're going to celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, my husband's turning 60 today. I'm approaching 60. I think in the next 5 years, we're obviously going to be at 65. It's going to have a different impact on, how we live our lives. We're working our way out of the environment of daily work and really moving ourselves into passive income. And so our goal in the next 5 years is to have our passive income. I don't even want to say that. I don't know how I want to say it. I'm being careful because I want to manifest this, right? Because I'm being careful while I'm saying this. The passive income is there, right? I don't need to worry about that. It's, can I have more passive income to be able to do more good in the world, whether it's good for me, my husband and I, to be able to travel to do that good, or if we're traveling to create more experiences in, the dusk of our lives. And so it's not about more accumulation at this point, even though we want to continue to buy notes, we still want to make that solid. We want to make sure that there's more than enough so that we can make that impact to our children, make that impact to ourselves, and into others in the world. So for the next 5 years, we're just really honing in on passive income so that we can do that experiential lifestyle and life that we want to have.
So are we talking, you want to triple your current passive income?
Ooh.
Or inbox? No, you said inbox income. You want to triple it?
Yeah, my inbox income. Yeah, no, I don't want to triple it. I think I probably want to at least increase it by 50%. Okay. And then because we have more than enough now that we don't need it all. We just don't. And I just want to increase it another 50% because I know I can make an impact somewhere. And again, it might be with my grandkids, and it might be with, my children. I'm not sure. And it might be just in the world as a whole, but I'm of the opinion I'm never going to quit on money. There's no need to. If I have excess, I can give it away.
I'm certain I am certain that even from the impact you have from stage, I've heard you speak twice now, and you do a very good job. And that is one way that you go around and impact people. It's amazing the number of people that you have impacted and those that you don't even know about. That, I've gone away from listening to you and talked to others about what I heard, and they're impacted by it. So there's the ripple effect, if you will, of what you do is quite amazing. And I'm grateful for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, very profound. Well, we appreciate you being on. I mean, if any of our listeners want to connect with you, how would they go about doing so?
Yeah, the best way is just go to jenduplessis.com and you'll find all my contact information there. And we have some goodies there and some resources there. That's the best way to do it. I'm all over social media, as everybody is. That's the best way for you to go there. And I think we have one of my most recent books there too. You can get that as a free gift. I'm not sure which one it is. We just released this one. It became #1 and it was just up on, this one and this one. Actually, there's another book over there too, but those two books were just up on the big jumbotrons in New York City last month. Right after the nighting, we went to New York and they were on the big jumbotrons. And so we're excited. We're spreading that book around. And of course, that one's called Impact. So get yourself a copy of it.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll make sure to put it all in the show notes down below. Lady Jen, thank you so much. We've very much appreciated you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be able to share this story, and I do hope it impacts everyone else. Can I leave you with a quote?
Oh, please.
Okay. We flatter those we scarcely know. We please the fleeting guests, but we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best, including ourselves. And that, I think, sums everything up, is be as good to yourself as you are to other people. Take care of yourself.
Love it. Love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Master Your Millions with Jason and Scott Henderson. Check the show notes for any links or contact information about today's guest. Make sure to follow the show so you don't miss any future episodes.